Hello and welcome to Wake and Jake, myself, BBD. Happy June 26th, the last week of June as we head to July, like what feels like a middle of summer month. We are about halfway through the baseball season. I think we had a little sticker shock today when Trevor mentioned the Arizona Diamondbacks have gone 79 games without being held scoreless. Because if you're a baseball fan, you know 81 games is the approximate halfway point of the season. Math pod. I wanted to take a step back, look at a couple teams today. We came off a foolish episode on Wednesday. Thank you all for tuning in to that. And I think the other thing that I like, and the first year of talking baseball opened up my eyes to it. Some of you already may know where I'm going. You may not. Leading up to the All-Star break can be make or break. And that sounds obvious, and I thought there was going to be more to that sentence, but there's actually two examples. There's the Chicago Cubs example we use, that they went on a West Coast trip. I actually think that was right before the trade deadline. They went on a West Coast trip. It was like 1-9. It was bad. It was ugly. It basically, I think it was the last... I can bring it up because I can get there quick enough. It was kind of the last hurrah for, like, are they going to keep the Rizzos around? Are they going to keep, any of that Chicago team that broke the curse that you thought they'd keep somebody around from?
Yeah.
And let's
nobody, right?
You thought it was Rizzo. Like,
he's the unofficial official captain. Like, leader of that team.
You thought
one of him or Bryant.
Going into the All-Star break, the Chicago Cubs on June 24th of 2021, they were 42-33. Pretty good record, right? Especially this season.
Yeah.
If they had that record this season, they'd be one of like the best teams in baseball. The Chicago Cubs going into the All-Star break. So I did have it right. And by the way, we're about 2 weeks out. The Yankees have 13 games left. Depending your off days, you're probably between 12 and 14 games heading into the All-Star break, which, whoa, right? Like that's, I know I just said it, but All-Star break traditionally a little past halfway point that I don't know. It feels like there's this group of teams, Mets, Padres, Cardinals, not even really anymore. But these Mariners, these groups of teams that we've been waiting to click somewhat. And guess what? If you have a great 2 weeks, if you're the Cleveland Guardians, who have been hanging around just below 500, if you put up a 9-4, you ended up having an okay first half. If you flunked the dunk, like this Chicago's Cubs team, be heading out there this weekend, NASCAR. Those Chicago Cubs were 42-33. They went into the All-Star break 44-46. So what's the math there? They went 2-13.
Yes.
I think so. They went 2-13. So the same kind of time frame we're talking about. They lost to the Dodgers, Milwaukee, Cincinnati, Philly. So maybe it's less West Coast than I thought. But, I mean, that changed their whole season. Those 2 weeks. They were a winning team. 9 games above 500. Rizzo was on that team. Javi Baez, that's when he got traded to the Mets.
I think the team we're thinking about with West Coast, I think, was the Mets. I think they were in a playoff position, had an 0-6 West Coast or something, and their season unofficially ended there.
So that that Cubs team had Chris Bryant on it. That Cubs team had Jock Peterson on it. Jock wasn't a part of it. Jock was like their 1-year flyer Jock, but Baez, Rizzo, Bryant, Wilson Contreras. Yeah, there's a lot of the heart of that Cubs team that won the World Series that ends up getting broken up that year, and a chunk of it essentially is 2 weeks leading up to the All-Star break. So there's a couple teams still out there. The other team, I was going to use the Cubs as the example. I forgot about one of my favorite baseball teams in baseball history. And I do say that in a little bit of a rude way. The 2019 Colorado Rockies. The 2019 Colorado Rockies. They went to the playoffs the 2 years before. 87-75 wild card game. 91-72. If you remember that 2018 playoffs, they played I think they had a play-in game over the Dodgers, or they lost that on the final day. They beat the Cubs in a one-game playoff to get into the playoffs, and then they ended up getting swept by the Brewers. So, 2019 Colorado Rockies, back-to-back playoffs. This is a team that does not have a track record of a lot of success. Some of the guys on that team, Daniel Murphy, a young Ryan McMahon, Trevor Story, Nolan Arenado, Raymond Tapia, center fielder,
yes,
Ian Desmond. How about that? I mean, peak Charlie Blackmon, 940 OPS, 32 years old. David Dahl, 877 OPS this year. This was 2019. This was juicy balls. Mm-hmm. Some of these guys have 780 OPSs, and that's above league average. They're also getting cores adjusted there, so they're getting double whacked. The rotation, Herman Marquez, John Gray, Senzatella, Kyle Freeland, Wade Davis, Brian Shaw, a young Carlos Estevez in the bullpen.
Yeah.
Now doing it for your Angels. This 2019 Rockies team was 40-34. They were 44-39. Again, in this season, there's a lot of teams that would beg for that. And by the way, they had a fantastic stretch. This team came out of the gates and they were 3-12. So when you put that 3-12 on a 44-39, quick math, you're looking at 42-27 for a stretch there. 41-27? Yeah. They, after being 44-39, they lost their 5 games heading into the All-Star break. So L5. So instead you're 44-45, a game below 500. And then they continued to eat it after that they were 47-55. And that was the end of that Rockies team. Nolan Arenado, Trevor Story, Scott Oberg with a big year out of the pen. I say all this because we are heading into this final time of the week, and I want to talk about a couple teams that should have your eye, and these teams are brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use code BAKERS. Bet $5 to score $150 in bonus bets instantly with code BAKERS at the DraftKings Sportsbook. This is a real one, people. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in Massachusetts. Call 800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelplinema.org. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Kansas, call 1-800-522-4700 on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. In West Virginia, gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. All games regulated by West Virginia Lottery. Please play responsibly in partnership with Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org. 21 plus in most eligible states, but ages vary by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. State-specific responsible gambling resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. 1 boost per eligible game. Opt-in required. Max bet $50. 10 plus leg required for 100% boost. Eligibility, wagering, and deposit restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/baseball terms. Hello.
Woo!
Wow. Feel my asthma kick in there.
That one felt like a prank.
felt like a little bit of a goof or a gaff. So let's bring it back to this Major League Baseball season. Rays, Orioles, we're good. We're good at this point. They are safe. Yankees, kind of safe, and they're the Yankees, and they have an easy schedule. They have Oakland coming up. They just survived what was IMO, their scary series. Texas and Seattle.
A couple of the guys we've been worried about showed signs of life, so...
Toronto, I'm going to put in the same boat. I do want to see their schedule quick. Because they have the same record as the Yankees. I feel like, and this might be horribly rude, but the Yankees have they haven't had a losing record in forever. The Yankees are the Yankees. They'll pay, they'll trade, they'll make aggressive, sometimes wrong moves. Blue Jays have the Giants, the Red Sox, the White Sox, the Tigers going into... Okay, so they're good. They're good. White Sox and Tigers, Red Sox.
Take care of your business.
Blue Jays are good. I thought they'd be good. Blue Jays fans, you might have just got mad at me for a second. You're going to be okay. Boston Red Sox are 40-39. And I think 500 is a good place going into the All-Star break this year. There's a couple teams that would be begging for 500. We'll get to them for a little bit. AL Central, I'm going to be horribly rude for a minute. Nothing matters yet. The Chicago White Sox and Detroit Tigers are still terribly in play. Think about what we've seen in Cincinnati. Cincinnati has had a good 2 weeks. They lead the Central. That's it. The Pittsburgh Pirates had a good 2 weeks. They led the Central. In either Central, if you have 2 good weeks, if the Guardians, if the Twins have 2 good weeks, honestly, you can put Detroit and Chicago in the mix. I don't see it necessarily happening. They have horrible run differentials. But if you catch a little baseball magic for 2 weeks, you're going to lead a Central division. Let me finish the AL before I get to a team that I've been in my head about for the past couple weeks. Texas Rangers are good. They've done their job, Pop. They look incredible. Credit to the Yankees pitching this weekend. Houston, you're good. I mean, they're still missing Altuve and Yordan. Number 1 player picked in the old man draft. Number 1 consensus on everyone's board. Jose Altuve. So Houston's fine. They're still pitching incredibly. The play by Mauricio Dubon to save the game last night was nuts. If anyone saw that, if you didn't, go watch it. It was one of those. I'm gonna relate things to Yankees. Miguel Andujar played third base for a little bit for the Yankees. Watching Gio Urshela after Miguel Andujar was a oh my god moment. The play Mauricio Dubon made, DJ LeMahieu is a very good second baseman. He's big. He's got range. The arm played. He's now been playing a lot of third base for the Yankees. Second base is normally one of the most athletic positions on the field. DJ and Gleyber Torres aren't, you wouldn't label them that way.
They're not going to rate very high on the second baseman athleticism.
I watched Mauricio Dubon make an athletic play at second base, and I was like, oh, haven't seen that. Haven't seen that one. And again, he's just been filling in for Altuve as like a bonus piece. Houston, they're Houston. They're Houston. Los Angeles Angels, I've been proud of them, even though in their last 10, 4-6 in it. Let's see the schedule. They've got some White Sox on there. Okay, that's a good sign. I'm not voting for any All-Stars right now. Get out of here. Angels.
Not right now.
How about Kelsey Wingard and Mike Trout?
That was cool.
Pretty cool. They go White Sox, DBacks, Padres, Dodgers, but a 2-gamer with some off days. So Angels will be safe of that 500 mark. They maybe get a little asterisk just because all season I've been saying this, you cannot fall apart. Do not join the 2019 Rockies. Do not join the 21 Cubs. Like, you just can't be bad. Like, if you go 500 into the break, you're good. Do not have a bad stretch now. Because, God, if that becomes the conversation in Seattle, like your whole first half, which has been really good, man, don't let that happen, Halos. Do not let that happen. What else out? Mariners, speaking of conversation in Seattle, they're below 500. 37-39. They've been there all year. Now, Guardians effect, you can come in, you can change the whole story. They are playing the Nationals at home. I like that for them. They go Nationals, Rays. I don't like that for them. That balances each other out. Oh, no. They finish Rays at San Francisco, at Houston for 4. Seattle, you guys are on life alert, man. That's scary. Rays, Giants, Astros. You better take care of the Nats. Because those final...
Can very easily end up in an ugly spot.
Those final 11 games, that's very worrisome. A team that has not clicked all year. And just feels like they haven't been winning series. Oh, boy, if you don't take care of the Nats, you're going to find yourself in a tough place. I hate that news for Seattle. Oakland, not discussing. Braves, you're fine. Marlins, you're fine. 42-31. 11 games above 500. They're covered. They've won their last 5 straight. 4.5 back of the Braves, who have been incredible. Do they have... The Marlins have the 3rd best record in the NL. Whoa. No reason. Minus 13 run differential. But either way, with that being said, and we talked about them a lot on Talking Baseball today, a long Talking Baseball today, because they've done enough. If they trickle into the break, they're still going to be clear of 500. They have more and more young pitching than we thought coming into this season. And they're doing it without a lot of their hitters. Jazz Chisholm's out. Avsale Garcia out. They're going to be a very interesting player around the trade deadline because this is supposed to be the timeline, right? Everyone got freaked out when Jeter left. Still am. Still don't know what that was about. Guess it was to go work Fox with Poppy. But Marlins are good. Marlins are covered. They won't become the 19 Rockies or the 21 Cubs. They're clear. I'm so stupid. Actually, let me change my stance. MLB.com standings are so stupid sometimes. Because sometimes it'll just flip to a random date, like an old date I was on that website. Luckily, everything I just said about Miami was true still. But the 11 games over 500 and that win streak was from a week ago. So almost useless. I was like, the win streak didn't make sense because nobody got swept this weekend.
Yeah.
There were 0 sweeps. So throw the win thing out. They are 11 games over 500, though. So all of that still stands.
That part's real.
You tried to get me. Didn't happen. Phillies are 3 games above 500. They're in a unique spot between Dombrowski and Harper coming back, and they've been playing a better brand of baseball lately. I guess you could say, like I've said before, those other teams, you can't shit the bed, but they're kind of in a unique place. They finish Cubs, Nats, Rays Marlins. So that Rays Marlins is a tricky little 6 games to finish off your season, but they've been showing all the right things. A team that's been showing us all the wrong things. And they just did that against this very same Phillies. The New York Mets. It is full-blown fight or flight time. And Mets fans, I grew up with a few Mets fans. I sent some texts this weekend. They're like tuned out. This team hasn't done anything to hook them in. They have a homestand, 4 games against the Brewers. Corbin Burns coming to the office tomorrow. Teaser. 4 games against the Brewers, 3 games against the Giants, and then they have a West Coast road trip. DBacks Padres. This is a team that hasn't gone all year. They are 35-42. So to get to 500, oh my God. To get to 500 by the All-Star break, so there's 6 games there, and there's 7 games there, 13 games. Math company here. So if they won all 13, you'd have 48 wins. 47-43, 46-44, 45-45. So they would have to go. What did I just say? They'd have to go 10-3?
To get, yeah.
Yeah. They'd have to go 10-3 against the Snakes and Padres on the road, who I'm going to get to them in a minute. And then at home versus the Giants and the Brewers. I don't know if this team has 10-3 in them. That's to get to 500. That's...
Right now, 500, you'd still be behind 2 more teams before the last wild card spot in the NL.
Scary hours. Let's go Nets. For the Mets.
4th worst record in the NL right now.
And there's no reason... I was going to say there's no reason to believe, but you got to believe, right?
Gotta.
I don't know. Mets might have some weird conversations coming up. There's a lot of veterans on that team. They just traded Eddie Escobar away. I mean, I know they were calling up some kids and like...
Yeah, he was one, kind of the easy guy to move out and
Mets.
open up time. But.
That's scary. Because all year we've thought, it's going to click at some point. Verlander came back and... 10-3 to get to 500 for the All-Star break. That's not happening. I mean, they've been looking for 500 ball. That's scary. The Central, I already given my Central speech. The team that I keep coming back to, and I know I'm wearing all Pittsburgh City Connect, but it's not them. They've been playing some of the worst baseball in baseball. The Cubs. One of these things is not like the other. In the NL Central, the Cincinnati Reds, who are a new team and deserve to be treated entirely differently than what they've been, they're atop the division. Good, great, grand. Ton of young ball players. Their pitching has been generally bad, which you feel like has to catch up at some point. But right now they've got the most magic you can get in baseball. Good for them. Brewers are the Brewers. They're going to hang around and might win this thing by default. The team I keep coming back to, and I've told you guys a bunch now, the Chicago Cubs. They are the only team with a positive run differential in the NL Central. They have a better run differential than the Toronto Blue Jays, the New York Yankees, the Baltimore Orioles. That's an interesting one, huh? Some of the metrics absolutely love the Cubs. And when I say metrics, I think you guys know, I like advanced stats, I like data, but I come back to the basics. The roster resource team screenshot. They're 5th in starting pitching ERA. Their offense is top half. I feel like it used to be flashier. So I'll pull back on that a little bit.
Wisdom's been out. He was providing a lot of pop.
Patty Wisdom early this season. Let's see. They've got Phillies, Guardians, and Milwaukee coming up. So those are all teams. That's an around 500 orgy going down the stretch for the Cubbies. That I was the second London game. The Cubbies, man, ugly play by Trey Mancini at first would have gotten them out of the inning clean instead of like 3 runs end up scoring that inning. If the Cubs won that game, they would have been 500. They would have been 38-38. They would have been, I think they're 8-2 in their last 10 either way. The Cubbies are really interesting. Their starting pitching staff is clicking. Tyone, Smiley, Hendricks, Steele, Stroman. They're 5 major league dudes, huh? Feel like you look around the league and you see a lot of AAA guys filling in and stuff. They've got kind of their 5.
It's pretty much the crew they thought they'd have.
That's the crew you want. So, again, in this funky 2-week window, Cubs playing good baseball, trying to get above that 500 mark, and if you play slightly above 500, you're there, and the Central is wide open, and we might be going to Wrigley on Saturday. The Cubs have my head in a tizzy. Because also they're in a really dangerous spot. You flunk one series. You're playing the Phillies, who I just said are playing a better brand of baseball. 7-3 in their last 10 for the Phillies. I don't know. I want to be in on the Cubs. I want to believe in run differential. I want to believe in the Central stinking. They've got to get me there. But a lot of other things are there.
I mean, the Fangraphs, they're like odds to win the division, make the playoffs. They have them as second best odds in both of those categories, ahead of the currently first place Reds in both of those. Basically coin flip on Brewers versus the field.
Yeah, that makes sense, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's what I've got.
Yeah, that's literally what it is. Like, okay, we know the Brewers are going to sustain some level of being okay. And you can't say that for any other teams, which is insane. My Snakes are starting to get into a dangerous area. They still lead. Let me start over. The Snakes have done their job and more. I mean, they could limp into the break and that would be fine. My worry for them is San Francisco and the Dodgers are within 3 games. That you don't want to be one of the storylines of the first half, halfway through the season, and you don't want to limp into the break and you look up and you're in 3rd place. Because you've been in 1st place. You've been best record, going toe-to-toe with the Braves. They play the Rays. They host the Rays. They go to the Angels, who I told you are in don't poop the bed mode. They finish with the Mets and the Pirates, which that makes me feel a little better. I think the Pirates are, as I wear their gear. Thank you, Pirates. City Connect. Let's go, Pirates. I think the Pirates they're not buying. They're selling. I'm just worried. The Snakes have had such a storybook first half. Don't let both those teams jump you. And Snakes fans listening to this probably hate that because they've been ahead the whole time and shouldn't be thinking that way. And they aren't. But playing the Rays, be careful, Snakes. Giants, you're good. We didn't know what you'd be this year. You've had an incredible stretch of baseball. You're 10 games above 500. You can limp a little bit and be fine. Dodgers, you guys end up in a great place every year. You guys are fine. You don't care. The other team that was one of the talking points of today's Talking Baseball and will be the rest of the way, Another team with a great run differential, plus 31. That is, I mentioned the Cubs were plus 32, so they're better than all the teams I mentioned with them. Toronto, the Yankees, the Orioles. The San Diego Padres' weakness this year has been hitting. And that might sound insane because it should. Tatis, Soto, Machado, Bogarts. Cronenworth was bad. I think he's kind of finding his way back. Ha-Sung Kim has been good. Really good. Mostly deep, well, both sides. A lot of defense. Gary Sanchez was a shot of life for a little bit. They rank as a top 5 pitching team, and they rank as a top 5 defense, the Padres. How about that? So you're telling me the Padres' weakness is hitting? They're 37-41. They are all-time committed to a roster, except 2 guys, which we talked about, Snell and Soto, who have both been incredible for them, by the way. I hope the Padres go into the All-Star break, and they are one of the stories about how hot they finish those 2 weeks. And look out. They're at Pittsburgh. Darvish, Snell, Musgrove. Okay. Snell, Keller, by the way, on Wednesday. Bet the under. Both of those guys. Holy Toledo. DraftKings. They're at Cincinnati. We'll see where Cincinnati's magic level is at that point. They finish at home with the Halos and the Mets. That Mets series and Padres series feels like the 2 teams that have disappointed the most. Sorry, Cardinals fans. Excuse me. We've almost put you in our rear view way too early this season. Padres, Mets in San Diego to wrap up right before the All-Star break. I'm going to buy a little bit of Padres stock now. I will say they end up above 500 going into All-Star weekend, and that's where they need to be. That would be a great way to finish up what's been a disappointing first half, but their pitching has been there, their defense has been there, and it feels like their offense is there with some of the names you mentioned, but it just has not come together. That I'm going to lean into a struggling Pittsburgh team, a homestand coming into the break. I think San Diego finds it, and boy, do I have a chance to look dumb because they just blew a series to the Nationals. And that's kind of been the story of their season. So, I don't know. I think if not now, when? So I'm going to bank one last now. Go Padres, go. Otherwise, Baby D, you noted it on Talking Baseball. Does a Soto conversation reopen?
The year and a half left.
It's the only extension they haven't gotten done. Is Snell on the table? Are they just going to ride this thing into the ground? You can't add.
Their avenue for long-term adding is to kind of reshuffle the deck, replenish the system with some Soto pieces. If that is the avenue they were to choose, you're never going to get anything that equals Juan Soto, of course.
How about this? And I know this isn't going to do much in the Padres clubhouse. Hey, Padres, you kind of have 2 weeks to not become a Jolly Olive video. Because right now, if in 15 years, Baby James goes on Baseball Reference and looks at this Padres lineup and team that wasn't successful, he's going to be asking us what the hell happened. And right now, I don't know what to tell him. It's the offense, but the guys you'd think about are doing enough. So I don't know. That's why I'm not selling. I mean, let's be honest. I was kind of the last to sell on the Cardinals, so I screwed the pooch there. Haven't fully sold, by the way. One piece of stock. That I don't know. I'm excited to see where these 2 weeks bring us. I was shocked today when Trevor Plouffe mentioned 79 games for the Diamondbacks, not shut out. The Tampa Bay Rays are at 81 games. They've played half of their season. Pretty insane. So I guess let me know your team's final 2 week stretch that you're worried or excited about. What were you giggling about, Beebs?
I mean, not giggling, but I mean, even sadder for for the 2023 Padres, and when Baby James and Baby Claire look at their baseball references in 20 years or whatever and see this, they might just think, Jake Cronenworth was bad, huh?
Yeah.
Xander Bogaerts kind of a whatever player. Dad, who's Manny Machado?
I need one of the nerds. To figure out something about having holes in lineups. Because Soto's a 160 OPS plus. Tatis is a 148 OPS plus. Mm-hmm. I mean, Bogarts has still been positive. Kim has been positive. Even Machado's numbers aren't where they're supposed to be, but I think he was hurt.
It was a really bad April plus hurt, so he's climbed himself in a lot of ways out of that hole.
But Grisham, Cronenworth, remember that catching position before Gary came in? There's something to lineup composition that the nerds haven't figured out yet. And honestly, I don't know. I was going to say something that was going to sound so old that I was going to lose the kids. I want to look up one stat before I lose all the kids forever.
We would hate to lose the kids forever. It's bad for business.
I can't wait to lose the kids forever. Okay. The top 10 teams in baseball in batting average. Texas Rangers are 1. They're good.
They're a good team.
Atlanta Braves are 2.
They're a good team.
Tampa Bay Rays.
Very good team.
Arizona Diamondbacks.
They've been a good team.
Toronto Blue Jays.
Playoff contention.
Not in those 4 realms, but number 6 hurts the case. Washington Nationals.
Bad team.
Not good. I'm sure I could point to some pitching and other stuff if I wanted to, but
stuff to watch for.
For the point of this exercise, Miami Marlins, number 7.
Good. In a playoff spot.
For what the Fish have been doing there.
We all kind of collectively refuse to actually consider it, but
they're overachieving. I think you could say that pretty fairly. Yeah. Could also say the Nats are overachieving if I wanted to. I won't.
Yeah, they're still ultimately about where we thought they'd be.
Lane Thomas
record.
gang.
I love Keybert.
8, 9, and 10. Red Sox, Angels, Reds.
Yeah.
Bottom 10 teams in batting average. Oakland, a little unfair, but is what it is. Milwaukee, I don't know, underachieving, but we said they'd win the division. Yankees, underachieving.
Mm-hmm. They're literally a good team, but underachieving.
Supposed to be like one of the best teams, but
in a playoff spot.
How about this? Okay, so I'll list the bottom 10 teams in batting average. Oakland, Milwaukee, Yankees, Seattle, Detroit, San Diego, Minnesota, Kansas City Royals, White Sox, Pittsburgh. So if I labeled it this way, if I did it underachieving or overachieving, and I think I'll leave in a neutral because I think there's some that don't deserve debate. Oakland is underachieving. I mean, by technicality, they're having one of the worst seasons ever. Milwaukee, can you say they're underachieving?
Yeah, they're not currently in first place. Like,
For everything we know, yes.
yeah.
For everything we know, yes.
Again, 2 weeks and you're no longer underachieving.
Right. That's fair.
But yeah.
Yankees are underachieving.
Mm-hmm. We know big reason
There's
why. But
different levels to underachieving, but whatever. Seattle's underachieving.
for sure.
Detroit, I guess I would say neutral, but the reason it's neutral is because their offense...
It's supposed to be bad.
We thought their offense would be very bad.
When we saw their roster on TPP season...
Gasps.
Literally gasped.
Okay. San Diego Padres.
Underachieving.
Twins, I'll put neutral. They're atop the division.
They're where they're supposed to be.
The offense has been underachieving, but I guess that'd be expected from the bottom 10. I'm talking teams as a whole, whatever. Their pitching has also been as good of a Minnesota pitching staff as they've ever had.
Yeah.
So, in a way, Kansas City Royals, underachieving, but whatever.
Yeah, another kind of neutral, but
White Sox
expected nothing.
From last year, they're underachieving. Unfortunately, we've been bludgeoned to death with this White Sox team, so it feels neutral. Pittsburgh was overachieving, but now they're sprinting.
They were back to where we thought they were.
Sprinting to underachieving. And again, I just changed the scales, but going back. Tampa, Texas, Atlanta. Over if not neutral for Atlanta, who's supposed to be one of the best teams in baseball. Angels are half overachieving.
Mm-hmm.
Toronto, I'd say neutral.
Neutral.
This is kind of what you'd expected.
I'd lean under if I had to label, so they go against the grain here.
Arizona,
over.
Highly overachieving. Nationals, neutral. Miami, overachieving. Boston, neutral. Cincinnati Reds.
Overachieving.
So I don't know. Obviously, there's so much more attached to that. And we know that with baseball now. We know that if you just had empty Omar Vizquel hitting 320 seasons with a 680 OPS, that's not the perfect formula. But I don't know.
For all these seasons, I think the nerds counter with if you get a lot of hits, you probably get a lot of extra base hits as well. Like if you get a lot of singles, you get a lot of everything. But
was just an interesting
batting average follows along with
was just an interesting exercise. I'm not saying it's everything. You obviously need either pitching to go with the hitting or hitting to go with the pitching. The Twins, like I said, their hitting hasn't been there. Their pitching has been fantastic. Boston, top 10 hitting, kind of what we expected from their pitching, right? I don't know. I think batting average is going to get a little sexier as we go. We just got rid of the shift. Obviously, if there's more hits, there's more doubles and home, everything you just said. I don't know. I hope I didn't lose the kids too much because I didn't really say anything. Just an observation. Ties into my whole offense theory that I've been brewing this year. But,
yeah.
I don't
There's
know.
a world where batting average isn't nothing.
That's been I might put that on a shirt. Batting average isn't nothing. Because it's not. It shows you when you get a hit. So if you have a guy a la Aaron Hicks, who's a 230 batting average, but a 350 on base percentage, and you have DJ LeMahieu, who's a 300 hitter with a 350 batting average, guess who you want with runners in scoring position? Same is not same. And I think baseball's figured that out. I don't think I'm breaking news there, but was an interesting, weird exercise to end this on. I'm jazzed up for the last 2 weeks. I will see you guys Wednesday, and I hope you enjoyed your weekend. I had a wedding, obviously. Goodbye.